Hello, it's Bethany. I'm a lower elementary Montessori teacher, and today I'm going to be talking about poetry writing in lower elementary. I am doing something interesting and different, I guess, this year. I'm having the kids write a poem each day for a week in April because it's poetry month, and then we will do a little poetry slam to the early childhood classrooms. I'll show you how I do and taught each poem. So first we did a couplet poem. So we made this one actually together as a class to practice, but I didn't start like this. What we did was first I made this little web page. I'll put it in my free hub. And so we picked a topic together. We picked spring, and I said, okay, think of 4 things that have to do with spring. So they did, and then we also kind of wrote like adjectives or words that had to do with spring. And then after we did it, we went one by one to make our poem. So we did spring, we did bugs for one. I don't have my paper I wrote on with them. But so first I did it on the whiteboard, and then I did my final draft. So I said, first you have to write your couplets and then your title as a rough draft, and then you'll write the poem on a piece of paper and this. I actually had the students type the poems because their handwriting was just too big to fit across with the lines, and I wanted it to look nice. So they have a typing program they use anyway, so we just typed on the computer, and then at the end they come up with the poem title. So CB, rose toes, bud mud, and then frogs, butterflies and frogs, logs. I guess I should have had an S at the end. We'll fix it. But what I did when I worked with the kids was I got my big whiteboard out, and I had them sit next to me. After they filled this out by themselves, and I said, okay, well, let's do this together. And I put like a line here for their title, and then I was like, okay, what is one of your first things? And then we would think, okay, so like someone did dinosaurs, so it was like T-Rex something something something, and then we ended with like, let's say it was food. And then I took the word food and I said, okay, what rhymes with food? Food, mood, and then a bunch of other words. Or like when we did bud, we were like mud, you know, and things. And then they also laughed so much when I was like, okay, food, mood, mood, tude. Okay, and they're like, that's not a word. So it's also like to do oh, that's not a word, but you know, anyways, it's a lot of fun. So then once we had it here, I showed like, make sure there's a space, that's my space, not an I, in between the stanzas of the poems. And we worked on it like that. So then I kind of helped with the rough draft, and then they typed it just for that. So that's how we did a couplet poem. So now for all the rest of the poems, we ended up at the end of the week putting them in a little poetry book. So the first one, as you saw, we did the couplet poems. Then we did the acrostic poems, and we were learning about tornadoes that day, so we did one together about a tornado. And then we did haikus. I didn't think the students would do as well as they did with these, but they actually did very well. And it could have been because randomly I have a lot of students this year picking the syllable work over and over again, so that really helped with writing a haiku poem, obviously. Then we did concrete poems. These were a lot of fun. And then the last poem we did was a limerick, and that's the one where it's A pattern, and they're supposed to be short, funny stories. So just some ending thoughts about poetry and how it went. I've always wanted to do more poetry. Now I have done like concrete poems with the kids and like tried in acrostic poems. We've done those before. But the other ones I hadn't really tried before with the class, and it was really nice because this is what we did for language all week. And a student even asked me, he's like, well, I can choose to do poetry any other time, not just during poetry poetry week, and I said, yes, of course, you could do it now that you know how to do it. Whenever you want to write a poem, you can. So it was nice to see that. And then next week, we're going to do a little poetry slam and read our different poems for the early childhood students. So that will be a lot of fun.